Today in Dot Cop Secrets, we're going to be discussing the first chapter, which is the secret formula. Hi, my name is Rodney.
And my name is Anthony.
And today we're going to be discussing the first chapter from the Dot Com Secrets book, which is the secret formula. Often when we're presented with a new idea, I know that I can get a bit overwhelmed, especially when there's no real examples that I have that can be applied to that. And if you didn't know, we used to work in the beauty industry. We used to run a cosmetic supply company that used to sell to professional therapists and beauty salons with a professional product. And it's from those experiences that we're going to be discussing what we read in the book, to try and help people get a better understanding of possibly the concept and just see some other examples. And what my dad and I often do is we might read something separately, but then we get together and we discuss the notes that we've made on that. And we thought that we'd make these videos to share them with everyone else. So the first concept is, who do you actually want to work with? Now, we had a few examples in the business where we had people that we really enjoyed working with. They were always easy to have conversations with about the product. They didn't take much convincing. When they took it up, they hit the ground running and continued with us for a while. And they were some of our best clients that we used to deal with for years. And there were some clients, I'll mention no names, that were particularly difficult to convince. And we did bend over backwards for a lot of the people because obviously we're trying to help a lot of people. This is a business that we're going to be starting, so they needed really as much help as they could get. And you might remember this one particular customer, Dad. We used to have many like hour-long conversations, and not just me, my other colleagues as well, to try, helping this individual through to then take on the product, and then they would go through the training. And they'd still have a lot of questions, and we'd help them. We'd really bend over backwards, but they eventually, when they did get with the product, they didn't stick around, and it's a shame. But I understand what they're saying, or what Russell's saying in this book about choosing who you want to work with, because if you had the choice between the two, a client that's really difficult to convince and then makes it really difficult when they are a customer, opposed to someone else that was easy to convince and they were a really easy customer. I know which one I would personally go for. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree 100%. I think half the time is trying to convince people to take on the product, but most of the time it's the people who want to take on the product. Those are the people we want to work with, because it gives us an opportunity to grow with them rather than to try and get them up to an average point.
The second concept of this is, where are your dream customers gathering? So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's pretty important. It's like trying to sell a juicy hamburger to patrons leaving a restaurant who are already been satisfied. So you've got a great product, but you've got nobody who wants to take on the product. So it's quite important to find people who are actually willing and wishing for the product. And also, if it is people of hungry people, go to an area where hungry people are hanging out. And that's just a weak example, but it's like wherever people, if you want to sell car parts or car enthusiast products, you go to car shows and that type of thing. So it's finding out where the people that you want to deal with are hanging out. Pretty important.
So the next concept that we're discussing from this chapter is what bait can be used to attract the dream customer. Now, we've already discussed who do we want to work with and where they like to be gathering. So now we're going to think of how we're going to entice them. So if you're thinking like in a pond, what kind of bait are we going to get for them to pay attention to us? Now, there was a while back that I was trying when I read Dan Kennedy book, and it was saying about giving, in a sense, a lead magnet to people. Remember, there was a bit that I was trying that to get just people to show interest. We were going to give them something for free, and we started off trialing. Remember, we gave away like a little file, and there was like a base coat that we gave away for any leads that were interested in to sort of part with their information, so they can get information from us. and they're going to take it from there. It wasn't just the fact that they were going to get something, that was actually real value. So it was a file that they would have got used to as part of the system, as well as a base coat that would nourish and would also strengthen their nails. So not only will they get value from that, they're then the content that we read is that they normally would get, will be looking for to get more value from us. So that's one of the examples we did, and it was a very small one. And then we would have different entry points that they would come into the business. I don't know if you remember that. It was a while back that we did that, but there's a few different ones, and we did some creams, and we wanted to see which is the, because we were trying to attract people that were interested in nails. That's what we were, that's what we were doing as part of that. So that was one of the things that we do.
Okay, the fourth concept that we are going to try and create is the unique result that we can create for our dream customers. Now, we want to take people to a point where they become self-sufficient, standalone, fully trained, skilled people with all the tools to be able to create a small micro business that they can actually earn some income out of it. Properly trained, properly certified, that allows them to get some insurance to protect them. So that was what we were trying to do.
And that was in our last business that we did. So that's what you're talking about.
That was our last business, correct. So in that area, basically, this is what everybody must try and achieve with this, what we are going to. We're saying that you have to take people, you have to give them a good vision of where you're taking them and what you're offering them, so that you can take them, you can give them a long journey. There are steps all the way through that, but that's the ultimate result. So they can actually envision where they're going to go and why they should actually go with you.
It's interesting to think that, because also obviously with businesses, if you're having an idea that you might have this initial idea, but then once they do that, then what happens afterwards? And I don't know, for me, being naive in this thing, you may not think so far ahead of what could be the next and what could be the next. So by reading this and understanding that what's the end results, the value that you want to give them, and then by mapping out, in a sense, that ladder that people would progress up to, you can have like a full business out of that, rather than like just one thing that isn't sustainable. Because from what we're reading, it is important to think all that way through. Just rereading that first chapter, it makes you think of a lot of things again, and how important that really is, and how interesting, and maybe what we may not be doing properly, or also highlight things that we are doing properly as well. I'm not sure if you found the same thing.
Yeah, no, I think it does break it back down, because it's, instead of it being so many components that we have to understand and do in the system, this just brings it down, boils it down to the bare essence.
So if you have enjoyed this discussion and would like to get yourself a free copy of the .com Secrets book, all you got to do is cover postage. I'll leave links for that in the description bar below. I'd really recommend this book, and then you can read along with us and join us with our conversations that we're having about this. If you would like to join us next week, we will be covering Hook Story Offer, which is chapter number 2. Then be sure to click the subscribe button, and also turn on the notification bell so that each and every week, when there's a new video, you'll be notified. Be sure to give this video a like, and if you have any comments or questions about what we discussed, then leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, we will see you next week.
Bye.